Hi there, welcome back. Very good morning. You've joined us on ET Now and you're watching Market Cafe with me, Kanishka Sarkar and Srishti Sharma. Over the next 1 hour, we'll take you through all the domestic and global cues that you need to watch out for ahead of today's trading session and also tell you about the stocks that you need to keep on your radar. But let's get started with an eye on the globe first and see how the US markets fared on Friday and how they ended the week. Now, they ended sharply lower on Friday after US President Donald Trump threatened to impose massive new tariffs on China, that is 100% tariffs, accusing Beijing of becoming very hostile with its new restrictions on rare earth metals, vital for tech and defense industries. Now, if you talk about the indices, now Dow Jones Industrial Average, that plunged about 880 points, that is nearly 2%. The S&P 500, that fell about 2.7%, whereas the tech-heavy Nasdaq index, that dropped 3.6%, which is its biggest one-day fall since April. Tech stocks, they bore the brunt of the sell-off. Nvidia fell nearly 5%, AMD dropped about 8%, and Tesla slipped around 5%. The VIX volatility index, that spiked above 22, signaling a sharp jump in investor fear. Now, adding to the market gloom, the US government shutdown entered its 10th day on Friday with no signs of breakthrough in the funding talks. Now, for the week, that is the last week, all three indices logged losses of around 2.5% to 2.7%. That's wiping out earlier gains and ending a volatile week on a sour note. So, Srishti, all eyes on how the market pans out now, given the US-China tensions, tariff tensions are yet again in place. And let's see how that pans out and how it impacts the market further. But how are things on the crude front?
Quite interesting, Kanishka, because the biggest headline was the tariff, and it did impact the movement on the crude oil prices as well, because I remember back on Friday there was almost a 4%, I beg your pardon, decline when it comes to the crude prices. But given the softer note of Donald Trump, we are seeing a bit of an inch up in the crude oil prices, and as of now Brent is trading at $64 per barrel mark, while WTI crude is close to that $60 and $62 per barrel mark. So a bit of an inch up, almost a 1.5% of uptake is what we are getting to see when it comes to the crude oil prices, definitely rebounding from the 5-month low for itself. But yes, the tensions are boiling across the Pakistan and Afghanistan border now, because 15 Pakistani soldiers were killed after Taliban forces hit back in Helmand following Pakistan's airstrike in Kabul and Paktika. Now both the sides are trading deadly fire, claiming heavy casualties, and captured the post. Now Islamabad says it's destroyed Taliban camps, and Kabul insists that it achieved its objective. Now 3 explosions rocked Kabul and Paktika as Taliban accused Pakistan of violating sovereignty. Now meanwhile, Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Iran are urging restraint, offering mediation to prevent a wider regional flare-up. So that's the latest that we are getting to here on that front. But Times Network's Srinjoy Chaudhary joins in with more details on this one. Srinjoy.
Yes, this would have been very unexpected just a little while ago. Let's not forget when the Taliban came back, defeating the previous government, it was the Pakistani armed forces that supported it. But over a period of time, the Afghans are very, very unhappy that the Pakistanis have been treating it like a colony almost, which is why these problems have been happening. Then, of course, there is the issue of the Tehreek-e-Taliban. The Tehreek-e-Taliban has its support in Afghanistan. They operate out of Afghanistan and they hit targets in Pakistan. So that is causing trouble. And the most important thing is the bombing of Kabul. It's almost hard to believe that here is a country that actually bombs a capital of another country, and this is really an undeclared war. Because how different is it than the fight between, let's say, Russia and Ukraine? The Russians have been bombing Kiev, for instance. Now, if a capital has been bombed, it's much more serious than a border clash. So these are things that have to be kept in mind. Now, yes, there is international pressure. There are countries which are saying that, look here, let's not start another war. Let's find a solution. Now, whether Pakistan will actually go ahead and do it, we do not know. Because these border clashes that you've talked about, quite rightly too, have been spreading. There have been several border clashes, and as a result, in that hilly area in Northwest Frontier Province and southern Afghanistan border, these clashes have been going on for a bit. Now Pakistan also has problems, because apart from the trouble with the Taliban, they have problems to deal with in Balochistan, with two insurgent groups very active there. There is also the Tehreek-e-Taliban in the Northwest Frontier Province, now called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So there is internal problems and now border clashes with the Afghans. And this is not a happy situation.
All right, thank you, sir, for that update and that perspective as far as Afghanistan and Pakistan border tensions are concerned. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, then we'll move on and get you some more updates from the U.S. front. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump, as I said, has yet again announced plans for a massive new round of measures against China, including 100% tariffs on all imports and strict export controls on critical U.S. software starting November 1st. Markets did initially plunge over fears of escalating tensions, with the Dow down about 2%, S&P 500 of 2.7% and Nasdaq falling 3.6%, led by tech giants Nvidia, AMD and Tesla, as we said earlier. However, Trump's latest comments on Truth Social suggested a possible softening, saying that trade relations will all be fine eventually. Now, that's echoed by Vice President J.D. Vance as well, who indicated willingness to negotiate if China cooperates. Now, amidst all of this tariff chaos, remember, Trump is set to meet Xi Jinping in just about 3 weeks in South Korea. So will the meeting happen now after this announcement? Now, though the suspense remains, Trump hasn't really ruled out the encounter. Let's listen in to what he had to say about it.
I don't know that we're going to have it, but I'm going to be there regardless, so I would assume we might have it. But, you know, they hit the world with something that really is not anything that people are going to do. And it was shocking. I can tell you, Howard and I and Todd, we all, Scott, we were all speaking about it before. And we said, where did that come from? It was just... That was out of the blue, right? Out of the blue, they came up with this whole import-export concept, and nobody knew anything about it.
China is hitting back, wherein Beijing says it's not afraid of a trade war and accuses Washington of a textbook double standard, defending its new export controls on rare earth minerals as legitimate under international law. Now, the Ministry of Commerce says the U.S. has long abused export rules and national security claims, and in a tit-for-tat maritime move, China will start charging U.S. ships $56 per ton to dock at its ports, mirroring new U.S. port fees on Chinese vessels.
All right, then moving on. That's about U.S. and China trade tensions. But moving on to some more global updates. Now, France's Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, has unveiled his new cabinet amid mounting budget pressure and political turmoil. Most top ministers, including finance chief and foreign minister, keep their post, while Paris police chief becomes the new interior minister. Lecornu's reshuffle follows his brief resignation last week after the backlash over his first lineup. Now, the government now faces no-confidence threats from both left and right and must push through a tough budget while France's deficit looms large.
And Donald Trump is set to personally greet Israeli hostages once they are released from Gaza, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance confirmed. He added that Hamas is preparing to free 20 living captives following Israel's approval of the first phase of the peace deal. Now, Trump is flying to Israel and planned to meet the hostages. Vance hailed the release as monumental, crediting new diplomatic approaches. Listen in.
I believe that we are on the cusp of peace in Gaza for the first time, not just in a couple of years, but really in a very long time, because the President of the United States has done something that no other world leader has been able to do: unite the Israelis with the Gulf Arab states for a common objective, and that is to bring the hostages home, to stop the war, and to build the kind of long-term settlement that we really do believe can lead to a lasting peace.
This is a very special event. They had 500,000 people yesterday and today in Israel, and also the Muslim and Arab countries are all cheering. Everybody's cheering at one time. That's never happened before. Usually if you have one cheering, the other isn't. The other is the opposite. This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved, and we're going to have an amazing time.
All right, then those are some of the top global stories that we're tracking this morning, but we'll get you more on the other side of this break. Time now for a quick breather here. Welcome back to ET Now. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Kanushka Sarkar, and Srishti Sharma. Time now to take a look at a quick world of entertainment. Now, Bollywood's biggest night sparkled in Ahmedabad. The 70th Filmfare Awards 2025 was hosted by none other than Shah Rukh Khan, returning after 17 years alongside Karan Johar and Manish Paul. Now, the night belonged to Kiran Rao's Lapata Ladies, sweeping 13 trophies, including the Best Film, Best Director, and acting honours for Ravi Kishan and Chhaya Kadam. Now, Alia Bhatt clinched Best Actress for Jigra, while Abhishek Bachchan and Kartik Aaryan shared Best Actor. Legends like Zeenat Aman, Jaya Bachchan and Sridevi were celebrated for their timeless contributions. And when SRK and Kajol recreated Suraj Hua Madam, nostalgia hit the stage. Let's take a look.
It was cinema's biggest night as the red carpet shimmered under the starlit skies of Gujarat. The who's who of Indian cinema converged in Ahmedabad for the 70th Hyundai Filmfare Awards 2025 in partnership with Gujarat Tourism. It was a tribute to 70 years of cinematic brilliance, and at the heart of this celebration were those who shaped the very fabric of Indian cinema. Two legends were honoured with the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award: Shyam Benegal, a master storyteller who redefined Indian cinema with his socially conscious films, and the iconic Zeenat Aman, whose unforgettable screen presence broke barriers for generations of women in film. This year's Filmfare also looked back with deep reverence to honour the eternal legends of the golden era of Indian cinema. The visionary filmmaker Bimal Roy and the tragedy queen Meena Kumari, who were both honoured with the Cine Icon Awards for their enduring legacy in Hindi cinema. Three more names which are etched in the golden history of Indian cinema were bestowed with Cine Icon honour: the Queen of Emotions Nutan, the tragedy king of Indian cinema Dilip Kumar, and the man behind Sholay, cinema's eternal flame, Ramesh Sippy. The Cine Icon recognition continued for those who took the legacy of these legends forward with their cinematic brilliance, the modern maestros of Indian films. The Shahenshah of Bollywood, Amitabh Bachchan, the king of bromance, Shah Rukh Khan, admired for her versatility, Kajol, the powerhouse performer, Jaya Bachchan, the storyteller behind generations, Karan Johar, and the ethereal legend, Sridevi. It was a night of triumph for storytelling rooted in heartland India, as Lapata Ladies bagged the top honours, winning the Best Film Award. Behind the poignant tale was Kiran Rao, who bagged the Best Director Award. Best Actor in Leading Role Male Award was shared by two powerhouses, Abhishek Bachchan and Kartik Aaryan. Known for her powerful performances, Alia Bhatt took home the Black Lady in the Best Female Actor in Leading Role category. In the critics category, where storytelling often finds its boldest champions, the honours went to films that dare to dig deeper. Visionary director Shujit Sarkar won Critics Award for Best Film for his stirring narrative, I Want to Talk. The ever-versatile Rajkumar Rao was awarded Critics' Best Actor Male Award, while Pratibha Ranta walked away with Critics Award for Best Actress. Lakshya Lalwani also hogged limelight as he took home the Filmfare Award in the Best Debut Male category.
अपने फैमिली के साथ फेस टाइम पे था, हम लोगों ने बात की, मेरे पेरेंट्स वर क्राइंग, दे वर वेरी हैप्पी। तो मुझे बहुत गर्व फील हो रहा है कि हमने एक अच्छी फिल्म बनाई और वो रिकग्नाइज हो रही है। आशा करता हूँ कि अवार्ड में हर साल जीतूं और अच्छा काम करता रहूँ और आप लोग का प्यार मिलता रहे इस प्रकार।
करण एसआर के अक्षय सर सब मंच पे थे और उस वक्त आपको
जी सबसे खास बात मुझे लगता है मैं 2 अवार्ड जीता हूँ आज। एक अवार्ड ऑफ कोर्स द ब्लैक लेडी इन माय हैंड्स एंड द अदर वन वाज शेयरिंग द स्टेज विद 3 लेजेंड्स। सो मुझे लगता है कि सपना ही चल रहा है, अभी भी कोई आके उठाना दे मुझे।
Managing Director of Times Group Vinny Jain also graced the red carpet and spoke about the 70th edition of Filmfare Awards, conveying his regards to the Gujarat government.
How are you feeling hosting this yet another big Filmfare show?
I'm very excited and I'm thankful to the Gujarat government for hosting us once again. This is a special year because it's the 70th year of Filmfare Awards.
From veterans to fresh faces, the 70th Hyundai Filmfare Awards 2025, in partnership with Gujarat Tourism, was a celebration of cinema in all its brilliance. New voices, new visions, and a future that looks as luminous as the past. Bureau Report, Times Now.
And pickleball, one of the fastest growing sports globally, is now making powerful strides in India, attracting players across age groups. Now, the Indian Pickleball Association, the official governing body recognized by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, has authorized PWR India to launch and operate India's first ever national franchisee-based pickleball league. Now, this exciting new chapter will be known as the Indian Pickleball League, and leading this movement is none other than the Times Group, which has secured the rights to host this prestigious league. And today at the glittering Filmfare Awards ceremony, Mr. Vinny Jain, MD of Times Group, unveiled the logo of the Indian Pickleball League. Here's a look at the special report.
On that, how big it is getting?
Yeah. Well, pickleball is very popular among celebrities and the common man actually. So it's going to become very big. It's already the fastest growing sport in the world as well as India.
So what are you looking at as far as in the future of pickleball now is concerned?
Well, I think it's going to grow more than 10 times. In fact, I'm quite surprised. Guess which state is got the maximum pickleball courts?
You tell.
Gujarat.
Oh, lovely. So that's a perfect combination that we're looking at. Gujarat and also...
Yeah, I mean, I think Gujarat is very trendy. They know how to capture all the new trends. It's the home state of our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. And Gujarat has, I think, almost 500 pickleball courts.
The pickleball revolution is here. Get ready for a bold new chapter in Indian sports. Bureau Report, Times Now.
All right, then, time now to take a look at how Asia Pacific markets have opened up. But before we get that Asia market check for you, lots of data to watch in that particular region. In China, there's going to be trade and price data, which is likely improved, though credit growth may have slowed. Singapore Central Bank may hold policy steady, whereas India, back home, we are going to watch out for the inflation data due later this week. Now, Australia, on the other hand, may see stronger job growth, and South Korea's jobless rate is likely to have slowed down. Meanwhile, Japanese markets are closed for holidays. So let's start with the Australian markets, how they have opened up. Now, it's largely a sea of red coming in for the Asia Pacific markets. The ASX 200 is down about 0.5% at that 8,900 level. On the other hand, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index, that is the one that's trading that's leading the losses. It's down more than 2%, nearly 2% right now at that 25,790 odd level. On the other hand, China's Shanghai Index, which is, of course is trading more than 1% lower right now at that 3,857 odd level, against the backdrop of US-China trade tensions that we have been witnessing overnight, over the weekend. So yes, largely a sea of red coming for the Asia-Pacific market. South Korea's Kospi Index, that's also trading about 1% lower at that 3,575 mark. If you talk about the Nifty, we did manage to end above that 25,285 odd level, but the gift Nifty, the implied Nifty is suggesting a start in the red as of now. We are expecting a start, with a downtick of about 85 odd points. So yes, let's see whether or not during this week we are able to, scale past that 25,300 mark and maintain those levels. But for now, today we are expecting a weak start around that, a downtick of about 0.3% is what we are expecting for the Indian markets as well. Srishti.
Indeed, let's watch out for that. But with this time now, let's slip into a very short break. Yet again, don't go anywhere. Lots more to talk about on the other side. Welcome back to Market Cafe right here on ET now, and let's talk about some of the macro data that we will be watching out for. And India is expected to release its inflation data today. Let me take it across to Varun Arora to find out what the analysts are penciling in on the same. Varun.
Yes. CPI inflation likely fell to 1.7% in September month, below RBI's 2 to 6% target band. The decline was driven by soft food prices like vegetable, pulses and eggs. This marks 7th consecutive month that CPI has stayed below 4% midpoint target range. However, core inflation inched up slightly to 4.15 from 4.10 in August month. With headline inflation well below target, the RBI may gain room to begin cut sooner than expected. In the last MPC meeting, RBI already cut the target range of inflation to 2.6% from 3.1%.
All right, so that's about the inflation data. We'll keep watching out for that. But another stock that's going to be in focus today, it's Vodafone Idea. Now, the Supreme Court is all set to hear Vodafone Idea's plea seeking a waiver of interest penalties and interest on penalties for adjusted gross revenue dues demanded by the Department of Telecommunications on October 13th, that is today. Let's go across to my colleague Sami to get us more details on this front.
The Supreme Court is likely to hear an important petition filed by the debt-ridden telecom player Vodafone Idea. Vodafone Idea has filed a fresh petition challenging the additional AGR demand raised by the Department of Telecom, and the hearing is likely to take place on Monday, 13th of October. Vodafone Idea, in its fresh petition, has actually challenged the additional AGR demand of rupees 9,450 crore rupees, and this has been raised by DOT, Department of Telecom. The core contention in this plea filed by Vodafone Idea is that a significant portion of this amount, 9,450, and which is equivalent to roughly around 5,600 crore rupee, it has already been settled by the Supreme Court in its March 2020 judgment, and which was ruled out reassessment of those dues. So this is a major contention in the plea filed by Vodafone Idea. In addition to this, Vodafone Idea has also raised that the substantial liability will actually raise question, and it will become a point of concern on the sustainability of the telecom player, which is already facing a lot of financial problem. In addition to this, the Supreme Court has also mentioned that central government needs to step in and provide some sort of resolution. But in its last hearing, which was on October 6th, that was deferred by 1 week on the request of the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta. He requested for a 7-day period, based on which the hearing was deferred to October 13th, and now it will be once again here by the two-member bench that is going to be led by CGI B.R. Gavai, and this hearing will be very much important and crucial for deciding the future of Vodafone Idea.
Alright, thank you so much, Samir, for getting us all those details. So that will be an important development to watch out for. But time now, yet again, to slip into a very short break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Market Cafe right here on ET Now. And markets may look flat, but this really is a correction or just a long pause before the next move. In the latest edition of the interview, Atul Suri says it's more a time correction than a price correction, and that this sideways grind might actually be setting the stage for the next big rally. Let's go across and listen in.
If you look at 1 year, you feel you missed out. You're missing out a very, very big global market, a global rally across asset classes. But when you look at 4 years, 5 years, you realize that, well, it's a time correction. That's good. It's not a price correction, not a massive price correction. And hopefully that we are actually consolidating before the next leg up. So in that sense, that may also be looking pretty. But maybe not at the moment, maybe a few months down the line.
All right, so that's about markets, but gold continues to be in the spotlight, hitting fresh highs every session. Atul Suri also calls it a mega trend, not a flash rally, and says that sovereign buying is giving the metal real muscle. Now, is this part of a super cycle? Here's an excerpt of this conversation from the latest edition of the interview.
Where do you see gold headed?
One doesn't know. So the trend is your friend till the end when it bends.
Okay.
So they, like, for me, gold, when I remember in the breakouts there, I thought 3,200 was a great area, and today it's at 4,000 plus. So in that sense of the term, that those times where consolidations and targets were there, it's well past that. It is parabolic in nature.
Blue sky territory.
And when asset classes, cross your targets, they are still continue without corrections, you definitely know that, hey, there is a mega trend at play. So there is a mega trend at play at gold. As I said, corrections will come. One may look stupid being bullish in gold on some days, some weeks, some months. But what it's telling you is that it is more structural in nature. There are many asset classes. Even silver did a very big catch up. Another industrial metal is copper. If you look at copper also, you will find that they're at levels which we have never seen. And commodities very often have super cycles. These super cycles last much, much longer. So a lot happening outside Indian equities.
All right, time now to tell you which are the stocks that are going to be in focus today. And now let me take it across to Ashesha, who's standing by with all the list of likely buzzers in today's trading session. Good morning, Ashesha. Take it away.
Good morning, and let's start with D-Mart or Avenue Supermart. It reported its numbers over the weekend and largely in line with what the street was working with. Although margins have contracted on a year-on-year basis, it has reported a revenue growth of about 15% on a year-on-year basis. Like-for-like growth stood at about 6.8%, which was slower than what the company reported in the previous quarter. Remember, in the first quarter, LFL growth stood at about 7.1%. Meanwhile, Vari Renewable Tech, this one has reported very strong set of second quarter earnings. Revenues shot up by nearly 28% on a sequential basis, and margins too have expanded to about 20.4% versus just 13.6% that the company had reported in the previous quarter. So very strong set of numbers that Vari Renewable Tech had reported in the quarter gone by. Prestige Estates, meanwhile, on the back of some new launches, where the company said, and this we are getting to know from agencies, that they've launched 620 homes worth about 2,200 crores in Ghaziabad. So on the back of new order wins that have come through, keep an eye out on Prestige Estates as well. Phoenix Mills, meanwhile, on the back of strong operational update that the company has reported in the second quarter, retail sales grew by about 13% YOY, and this was supported by strong growth at key malls that the company reported in the previous quarter. Tata Motors, meanwhile, it will be the last day to buy shares to be eligible for the demerged entity shares, and the record date is tomorrow. So keep an eye out on Tata Motors. GK Energy, on the back of weak set of numbers that it reported, revenue declined by about 8% YOY, and margins too have contracted on a sequential basis to come in at just 17.7% versus 18.8% that the company had reported in the previous quarter. So GK Energy has clearly reported a weak set of sequential numbers. BLS International, meanwhile, on the back of some negative news flow that has come through. In fact, the company has informed the exchanges that Ministry of External Affairs has temporarily restricted the company from participating in new Indian mission tenders for a period of 2 years. So slightly negative news. Keep an eye out on BLS as well.
All right, thank you so much, Ashesha, for getting us all those details. But let's also tell you which are the other stocks that you should be watching out for. And firstly, let's talk about Mahindra Lifespaces, because two positive developments coming in over here when the company has announced a land acquisition in Pune, which has a development potential of around 3,500 crores. And in Mumbai, they will redevelop 4 societies, which has a revenue potential of 800 crores. So two positive news flow on Mahindra Lifespace. Other than that, Kirloskar Oil Engines will be in focus as well, as the company has received a norm for a slump sale of its B2C business to its arm effective October 11th. So that will be something that we will be watching out for. And Mankind Pharma, a positive development, as the deal with Mankind Pharma is seen to be concluding as the company acquires Bharat Cement women's health branded generics business for 797 crores via the slump sale. So indeed positive development when it comes to Mankind Pharma. Other than that, HCC will be in focus as well on the back of the order win worth 204 crores. That is something that we will be watching out for. But when it comes to Axis Bank, wherein we get to understand that RBI's letter of caution is being received, where they say that the bank should ensure strict compliance of its KYC norms, as the bank took corrective measures to align with the RBI. A bit of a negative development when it comes to the Axis Bank. Now, CAMS, the board has approved 1:5 stock split. So this is something that we will be watching out for. And lastly, Zen Technologies will be in focus on the back of a new order win worth 37 crores from the Ministry of Defence.
All right, Srishti, then lots of counters to track today, but the much-awaited Tata Capital is set to list in the bosses today. Now, even as the GMP indicates listing closer to the issue price of about 326 rupees per share, let's check with Harsh. What is he penciling in for Tata Capital? Harsh, over to you. Good morning.
Well, yes, good morning. Yes, there was deep interest in the Tata Capital IPO, 2 times oversubscribed. So that was the one key positive, 326 rupees per share, upper end of the price band. And what we also saw is around 7,000 crore being raised by the company with regard to fresh equity capital. That obviously adds to the growth prospects as well for the company. Now, let me talk a little bit about what the premium could be. It was trading at around a 10% premium in the grey market, but when you're looking at it on a broader base basis, that has cooled off as we've gone ahead. A 360 rupee listing could well mean around a 10% listing pop, but we'll have to obviously wait and watch for that. At that kind of a price point, you'd be around 4+ times in terms of price to book, and at around 30+ times in terms of price to earnings. So valuation certainly not the cheapest in that sense. Broadly, of course, any kind of a listing pop could mean that a 5% listing pop could mean that the stock lists at around 342 rupees a piece, and a 10% pop could mean around a 360 rupees odd listing pop. The interest from the QIBs was strong at 3.5 odd times. You saw NIIs, employees also participating. Retail, not as much, just 1 time or rather 1.1 times. Only a 10% oversubscription is what we saw on the retail side of things. Something to watch out for, of course, Tata Capital.
All right, thank you so much, Harsh, for getting us all those details. But with this, let's also tell you which are the other cues that we will be watching out for. India will be releasing its CPI data, so all eyes will be on that. But in terms of the global cues, is the US bond market that is closed today, and China trade data is something that we are watching out for. But Japanese market, they remain shut for today. Now, in terms of the Q2 earnings, yes, of course, the tech-heavy HCL Tech within the F&O space is something that we will be watching watching out for, coming out with its earnings today, as well as corporate action, wherein Spandana Spurti board will be mulling the fundraise. So this is the other counter that we will be watching out for. But IPO, that is where all the excitement is. And in the primary market, like Harsh told a while back, the Tata Capital IPO listing will happen. And along with that, when it comes to the subscription close, then Canara Robeco as well as Rubicon Research are something that we are watching out for. The lock-in period opens for SmartWorks co-working. That's for 2%. Bharti Hexacom 20% lock-in is going to be in focus today. But in terms of the other events, it's Donald Trump to chair the Gaza Peace Summit. This is important development that we will be tracking. Annual meetings of IMF and World Bank Group, as well as BOE rate setter will be speaking. So definitely the commentary from that front is something that the markets will be keenly watching out for.
Right, Srishti, lots of cues to watch out for today, but let's get you a health-related update. Post the death of over 20 children in Madhya Pradesh after consuming contaminated cough syrup, the Food and Drug Administration of Maharashtra has started its inspection on the cough syrups and other oral medication as well. My colleague Anjali Palod is here to take us through more updates on the drug inspection.
The Maharashtra FDA has issued some fresh directives asking 47 dealers to stop selling drugs immediately, and show cause notices have been recommended to be sent out to 50 additional dealers as a part of its larger drive into inspecting cough syrup and other drugs as well. Now, this was launched by the Maharashtra FDA after in Madhya Pradesh over 20 children died reportedly after consuming contaminated cough syrup, and after that the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, or the CDSCO, had ordered inspections and audits of cough syrup manufacturing units across different states, and Maharashtra FDA had launched an investigation into these manufacturers. In fact, the World Health Organization has also raised concerns in this particular regard. Now, earlier, the Maharashtra FDA, which launched this investigation drive about a week ago, had asked 88 dealers to stop selling drugs immediately, and additionally 107 dealers were also recommended to be asked to issue show cause notices to in relation to this particular issue. And now, in a fresh update, they've said that 47 additional dealers have been asked to stop selling the drugs, and show cause notices have been recommended to be issued to 57 additional dealers.
All right, thank you so much, Anjali, for getting us all those details. But with this, let's talk about some of the earnings then. And Avenue Supermarts will be in focus today on the back of its steady Q2. The revenue did rise, but there was a marginal miss when it comes to the profit. But let me take it across to Snehi, who's standing by with finer details from the earnings. Snehi.
Well, yes, if you take a look at Avenue Supermart's quarter-2 numbers, or DMart as we popularly know it, largely inline set of numbers with estimates. On the revenue front, scorecard, revenue EBITDA margin in line with our estimates. Very slight miss coming in on EBITDA, so we'll call it in line with our estimates. PAT was a miss. If you take a look at the standalone numbers, revenue has come in at 16,219 crores, up 15.5% almost on a year-on-year basis. Net profit has come in at 747 crores, up 5.1%, slight miss versus our estimates of 790. EBITDA has come in at 1230, which is up 11.3% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA margins at 7.6% compared to 7.9%, down 28 bips on a year-on-year basis, but in line with what the street was largely estimating. Now, in terms of their highlights, there's been a 6.8% like-for-like growth in their 2 years or older stores. 8 stores were added in Q2, 17 stores added in the first half, and revenue per square foot came at 8,692, which is down 1% sequentially, but 1.3% higher on a year-on-year basis. If you take a look at some important metrics, why the PAT was down is on the back of employee expenses and finance costs have gone up, but they have only weighed very marginally on EBITDA. Now, what another fact important to know is that the retailer has ceased operations in e-commerce services, which is DMart Ready, in 5 cities during the quarter, and the strategy is to operate and focus on existing cities and presence. Quickly, brokerage view, Nuvama maintains its hold rating, target price hike to 4,580 from 4,544. Motilal Oswal maintains buy, target price hike year 2 to 5,000 from 4,800. 4,600. Axis Capital has also maintained its buy rating. Target price has been hiked to 5,000 from 4,950. So this target price hike is a constant coming in. But also something that's important to know is that EPS estimates and forward-looking revenue estimates have slightly been trimmed across the group of brokerages. Jefferies has maintained buy, a target price hike. Goldman Sachs has maintained sell, but still there's been a target price hike over here as well. Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Macquarie, they maintain their individual views with their individual target prices as well. So no change in stance or target price over there. So that's a roundup of Avenue Supermart's Q2 earnings, largely in line with what the street was estimating.
Thank you, Snehi, for that update. That's about DMart, but let's take a quick look at how the Asia-Pacific markets are faring yet again. Now, like I said, it remains to be in the red, largely in the red, on the back of the negative, handover that we have received from the U.S. markets. A big loss, not just on Friday, but also on a weekly basis for the Wall Street, and that hangover is reflecting on the Asian markets as well. ASX 200, that's trading about 0.5% lower. That's at that 8,904 odd level. It's taken a further fall, down 0.6%, down about 53 points right now. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index, that also is trading in the red. It's down nearly 2% right now. In fact, it's the one that is leading the losses on the Asia Pacific front. It's down about 500 points right now at that 25,776 odd level. Apart from that, there's South Korea's Kospi Index, which continues to trade in the red as well. That's down nearly a percent as well. It's at that 3,578 odd level. On the other hand, we have China's Shanghai Index, which is also down about 1% at that 3,857 odd level. So yes, a 40 points downtick is what we are witnessing on the Shanghai Index as well. And like I said, the Japanese market is closed for market holiday. And on the Nifty as well, the other day, on Friday, we did manage to close near that 25,300 mark, but it remains to be seen whether we can cross that level this week. But because right now we are expecting a start, start with a negative bias, down more than 90 points right now on the Nifty implied open. A 0.4% downtick is what we are expecting. So yes, that's about the D Street. Let's see how that pans out, and whether or not we are able to scale new highs in the Diwali week. But on that note, we're completely timed out in this edition of Market Cafe. Srishti and I will take your leave, but don't go anywhere as the market will take all the action forward.